All right, this is the ITSC 1321 laptop lecture. I prefer to handle laptops as a single subject. And what the textbook has done is spread all the different parts of laptops into the respective chapters of the book. Laptop memory in the memory chapter, laptop hard drives and the hard drive chapters where they talk about motherboards. They also talk about laptop motherboards, etc., etc. As a matter of fact, I can show you that I've gathered up all those different page numbers and put it on a handout on Blackboard. So in the Unit 3 laptop folder, I do have this document here called ITSC 1321 Working with Laptops, and I have listed all the different subjects of laptops and given the respective page numbers in the book that go with that throughout the various chapters. So please take a look at that and review all these different sections of the book on laptop subjects. So continuing on with the lecture, let's go through this. I have a modest PowerPoint that I've put together to talk about these different aspects of laptops. The first time they talk about laptops is in the first chapter of the book on page 39, where they talk about the first look at laptops. And we need to be familiar with all the different types of ports we could have on a laptop, which would be anything from HDMI port. You're not going to see a VGA port, almost guaranteed nowadays. USB 3.0s, you could have USB 3 ports, you could have your headphone and microphone jack. Usually those are integrated into one connector now. You may have an SD card slot or a micro SD card slot. And you also probably have a cable lock box. Now, laptops have a lot of extra buttons and switches. Mostly the function key row F1 to F12 is now special functions such as mute video, volume up, volume down. It could be brightness up and down. Dual display button to change whether you're sending the display of your laptop to the main screen. If you're duplicating the screen of your laptop to an external HDMI monitor. If you're extending your display so that you can have two different screens, which is what I do with my laptop. Buttons to put you in airplane mode, to turn on and off your Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. They might be separate buttons. It might just be a airplane mode button. You usually have some media mode buttons, like play video, pause video, stuff like that. If you have GPS, there may be a way to turn all that off. You may have volume buttons, etc., etc. So get familiar with these different buttons, and to just make that top row of buttons, F1 through F12, there is usually a key on the keyboard marked Fn that you have to press to get to the alternate function of those function keys across the top of the keyboard. Now, the special considerations we have when we work on laptops are to remember that replacement parts can have limited availability and will cost more than their desktop counterparts. The other thing you have to look at is what is the original equipment manufacturer's warranty. If the laptop is still under warranty, you should back up the data on the laptop and send it off for repair. Make a service call. Usually what they do is they send you a special box that you put the laptop in, which will protect it when it is shipped to their repair center, and then they will repair it and ship it back to you. And there's a very good chance, by the way, that they will put the base operating system load on the machine, thus overriding all your data. So it is crucial to back up your laptop, all the data on the laptop. Make a system image would be best before you send the laptop off for repair, or you're going to risk losing everything when they work on the laptop. They certainly are not going to guarantee to protect your data, and if they overwrite your data in the process of repairing the laptop, you will have no remedy other than, I hope I have a backup somewhere. Now, if the laptop is out of warranty, You can usually, depending on the manufacturer, get the service manuals, diagnostic software. Sometimes diagnostics software is built into a hidden partition on the hard drive that you invoke by hitting a certain function key when the computer's booting, or it might be built into the BIOS so you can run those onboard diagnostics. I know Dell has that on their desktops and laptops where you can run those diagnostics to see if the machine is healthy without having to put a disk in or download any software. Now, the other thing that they will do is customize the installation of Windows with extra software and stuff. So if you roll back your operating system to the base setup, you're likely to get the 90-day trial of Norton or McAfee back on the machine, which you'll have to uninstall so that Windows Defender will be your base. Antivirus. If you're buying replacement parts, replacement screens, specific proprietary parts of the laptop you're going to have to get from Dell or HP or whoever makes it. The screen may be an LG screen or something, or a Samsung screen, so you may be able to buy it from a different supplier. There may be third-party suppliers selling you these parts directly that are Dell parts, like bezels or keyboard trackpads and stuff like that. These may be parts that are as a Dell part, but you can get the exact part from a third-party seller. So a lot of times you can look on Amazon.com or elsewhere to buy these parts, but they can be more expensive. Don't buy the cheapest one you find. Do your research. Look at the quality of the company. Warranty concerns. Absolutely always check to see if it's under warranty and send it off for repair by the manufacturer if it is under warranty. And while I'm talking about warranties, my philosophy on laptops is the useful lifespan of a laptop is 3 years. If you get more than 3 years, great. But after 3 years, you're probably looking at if you need to do a major repair on the laptop, like a system board or the bezel and the hinges are all cracked out, battery and touchscreen and various components, where it adds up enough, or somewhere around 3 years, you're probably, rather than repairing that laptop, you want to put that money towards a new laptop. So my philosophy is, since the price of laptops has come down considerably, is after I buy the laptop, I call up the manufacturer directly and negotiate an extended warranty. Now, for my wife's Dell laptop, I added 2 years to the warranty to bring it out to 3 years for a little over $100. For my Hewlett Packard laptop, I negotiated a 2-year extension to the warranty to bring it out to 3 years, but it included accidental damage, which turns out is paid off because I spilled some coffee into my computer and the keyboard and everything survived. The system board survived, but my sound system is not working correctly unless I'm listening on headphones. So at the conclusion of this semester, I'm going to be sending my HP laptop off for HP to repair it. And to do that, I will back up absolutely everything I have on that hard drive onto 2 different places so that if they wipe my hard drive in the process of repairing it, I can just do a system restore and get back to exactly where I was. Not a restore point. I can do an image restore of the laptop. I recommend you create a file somewhere that has the laptop model and serial number, when you purchased it, and all that information, and keep it in a safe place that is not on the laptop in question, so that if the hard drive of that laptop dies, you don't lose that contact information. Service options, you can pay more money to have on-site service where a repair technician comes out to work on your device. Ship to authorized service center, this is mostly what you're going to get, and typically they're going to send you a box with all kinds of extra padding that you put in there to protect the laptop, and it has a label on it ready for you to ship the laptop off to them, and this can take a week or 2 for repair. My wife's laptop required repair. Dell had a major service center at Intercontinental Airport in Houston, so it took a day for my laptop to get there. It took 2 or 3 days for the parts that were needed to arrive. They repaired the laptop. I got her laptop back within a week, and I did have to load a system image back on it because they had wiped the hard drive. And I didn't want the base load. I didn't want her to have to reconfigure her computer. Now, since I'd done a full backup before I sent it off, it was a pretty simple process to restore the laptop image. And then I just had to do a phone call to Dell because it did not activate the Windows on the laptop after I restored it. And they were able to get it activated and make everything happy. So it was a pretty painless process. It did take me several hours to go ahead and do a full image backup of the laptop. And I did it twice because I didn't want her data to just be in one place. I wanted 2 full image backups of her laptop. So I didn't want a single point failure. So phone assistance or online chat can help you if you're having problems with a specific driver or whatever. This can be spotty. I've had bad luck with Hewlett Packard on my HP laptop with phone assistance and online chat. Once had an argument with the phone technician because the webcam in my HP is also an infrared camera, so it can do Windows Hello, which maps your face and logs you in by looking at your face. It's like Apple logging in by Face ID. So that's really nice, but I was having some problems with the wrong driver on it, and I got into an argument with the technician. He said that my webcam did not have infrared, and I said, I'm looking at Device Manager right now, and it said it is an HP, whatever it is, whatever model of webcam, infrared camera as well as a regular camera, and then he had to backtrack after that. So it's bad when you know more about your device than the technician you're chatting with or talking to on the phone, at least in that respect. So now, if your laptop is out of warranty, you definitely want to get the service manual for that laptop before you work on it. HP, Dell has their full service manuals available online. So for instance, for my HP laptop, I have the service manual downloaded and stored on my cloud drive. So anytime I need to do something to this laptop, I have the proper manual to follow the proper steps. In fact, about a year after I got this laptop, I upgraded the solid state drive to a much larger solid state drive, and I added another memory stick to the computer, bringing it up to 16 gigabytes. And that required a total disassembly and pulling the system board out and turning it upside down because the M2 drive, SSD drive, and the memory were installed on the bottom of the laptop system board, and the only way you could access that is by pulling the system board out, which there were very few screws left in this laptop when I got to the point that I could turn that system board over. If you have a manufacturer of a laptop that does not provide system repair manuals to the general public, only to authorized technicians, then you're going to have to resort to probably Googling. iFixit has some repair guides. YouTube is a very good source of disassembly video for your laptop. Just make sure you find the right model, and also make sure you judge the quality of the technician working on that laptop online. I watched a video once of a guy taking a laptop apart, and it was turned on while he was taking it apart because the power light was on. I could see the power LED as he was taking it apart. So that technician was very suspect to me because he wasn't using good practices to work on that laptop. There are third-party websites. There are websites that have posted illicit service manuals. There are malware trap websites that will try to get you to download, quote, the manual, and you're going to end up getting malware. So be very, very careful about where you get service documentation. Be very wary of third-party websites. Working inside of a laptop, if you got to open it up, such as to replace a broken LCD monitor or motherboard. It's a very complex process. You could be looking at 25 or 30 screws, and you need to be very disciplined in your approach to disassembly of the computer. Screws and nuts on a laptop are smaller, and you're going to need more than a 6-in-1 screwdriver to work on that laptop. You're going to need some sort of a laptop repair kit that has extra pieces, and it should also include tweezers and plastic scribes to be able to get inside the laptop easily. This is a pretty easy laptop to work on right here because the back panel comes off. The hard drive is easily removable with 2 screws and disconnecting a cable. The Wi-Fi card just has a screw holding it in, or maybe 2 screws and the 2 antennas. The memory's right there. The heat pipe for cooling the CPU and moving the heat to the squirrel cage fan that blows the hot air out of the laptop is right there. So this laptop is incredibly easy to work with, and it even looks like the screws on the cover are captured screws, so they will not just go flopping around when you take the back cover off. A lot of laptops like this do not give you this luxury anymore. They're much more complex to take apart. So that's why it's so important to have the proper service manual and to be very disciplined in the way that you work on the laptop. So internal components that we could change out, a battery pack, a hard drive, CPU. A lot of laptops now, the CPUs are soldered in and are not removable. The heat sink, the heat pipe, and fan can be replaced. Many laptops, you have SO-DIMMs, so you can upgrade the memory, add memory, or replace memory sticks. Some of the low-end laptops, the memory and the CPU is soldered straight to the motherboard. You can research this before you ever open the laptop up to see if it can be upgraded. Wireless card is usually in a mini PCI Express slot and can be upgraded and replaced. System board, there can be a lot of challenges to replacing a system board because sometimes you have to have a special program to configure the BIOS of that laptop. I know HP, you have to have special software, so just getting the system board from the gray market, it may not work. Optical drive, your Blu-ray is usually a standard size and can be replaced. All you have to do is remove the plastic bezel from the old DVD drive to transfer it to the new DVD drive so the side of the laptop is correct, if your laptop has an optical drive at all. So replacing system boards, this is optimistic, may need to fully disassemble the entire notebook. I can pretty much guarantee you're going to have to take the whole thing apart. You're going to have to take all the auxiliary components that connect to that motherboard off and out of the way. You're going to have to take the heat pipe assembly, the heat sink assembly out, maybe take out the memory sticks, take out all kinds of stuff before you can get that system board out, and there's going to be all kinds of screws involved that you need to keep track of. So in general, you're going to remove the keyboard, the optical drive, the Wi-Fi card, and the mini PCI Express. You may have to remove the palm rest or the bezel, or remove the back cover depending on if the laptop motherboard is mounted to the bottom of the laptop case or to the top of the laptop case. Many of them are now, everything is mounted to the keyboard bezel. So when you're turning it upside down, you're removing a back cover, but that doesn't give you access to everything you need. If you can remove the CPU, you would remove that. You already have the optical DVD drive out, and then you're going to remove the screws that hold the motherboard in place. This is going to be multiple pages of a laptop manual, and you should follow them religiously. Before replacing anything in a laptop, consider the laptop may still be under warranty, or it might be more effective and cost effective to replace the laptop rather than the CPU, processor, or the motherboard. And once again, it's going to be a large disassembly process to be able to get to that laptop processor, if it can be removed. Laptop memory is generally fairly easy because it's going to go in these SO-DIMM slots. If you're lucky, those slots are available once you remove the back cover of the laptop or the bezel of the keyboard and the bezel of the laptop. Otherwise, you're looking at pretty much a complete disassembly to be able to get the system board out and turn it over so you can get to the SO slots. So once again, you need a good repair video or the service manual and look at that and do your research before you start taking it apart. You don't just want to go cowboy. You just don't want to start taking screws out like mad and flinging them everywhere to see how to get the thing apart, because not only do you need to get it apart, you need to get it back together correctly. Problems with laptops, system power. If the laptop is not getting power, first thing you want to do, if it's not turning on, is verify the AC adapter is plugged in and is good. You want to test the laptop power supply with a multimeter set to the DC setting, typically in the 20-volt range, and see if the power coming out with that plug that plugs into the laptop. You need to hook the multimeter up to the inside and the outside of that and see what voltage you're getting. So it could be a bad battery. It could be a bad power brick, and bad power bricks are more common than you think, and that can be a $30 or $40 repair because you're just buying a replacement power brick. And you don't necessarily have to buy the power brick from Dell or HP because they're going to overcharge you. You can get a good quality power brick that takes the AC power from the wall and converts it to DC to charge the battery and run the laptop for $30 or $40. I would not buy the $20 one, personally. Depends on the laptop. I would not say older laptop computers require disassembly. Some laptop computers require disassembly to get at the 2.5-inch hard drive bay. Some of the older laptops are really nice because you can pull that hard drive out, slide it out the side of the laptop by only taking out 1 or 2 screws and not having to take the back cover off or the keyboard or the bezel off of the laptop to be able to get at that. Newer notebooks, it's easy to replace the hard drive. The BIOS is going to auto detect the hard drive. You just need to have the proper operating system on it, and it's going to search for that operating system automatically. So you can pull the old hard drive out, have your new hard drive, hook them both up to a computer, and use drive imaging software or a copy dock that just lets you plug both hard drives into the copy dock and copy the original hard drive to the destination hard drive, and then make sure the partition has been enlarged. If you use some third-party tools for system images like Acronis True Image or Norton Ghost, it will dynamically resize the partitions to expand and use all of the space on the new larger hard drive. And then you just pop the new hard drive in there and boot from it. So that's a quick performance upgrade, is to take a magnetic hard drive from a laptop and image it to a solid state hard drive and replace it. So right then and there, you're getting about 5 times the performance on a SATA hard drive because it's a solid state instead of magnetic. Mini PCI in laptops is typically used for the Wi-Fi card. If you see a black and white wires hooked up to it, this is Wi-Fi only. Typically, if you see 3 wires hooked up to it, it's a Wi-Fi/Bluetooth card, and you need to unclip these 3 antenna, take the screws out, in this case 1 screw, pull the Wi-Fi card out, put the new Wi-Fi card in, and put the screw back and clip the antennas on, and be very careful to make sure you route the wires the correct way inside the laptop so that when you put the laptop back together, these wires don't get pinched and damaged. I don't think you're going to see Mini PCI anymore. We're now to Mini PCI Express for a long enough time that this would be an extremely old laptop, and you would want to dissuade the owner from replacing this Wi-Fi card, because I'm not even sure you'd be able to get a better Wi-Fi card for the Mini PCI slot. And the computer may not have the CPU power to deal with the newer encryption technologies of the newer Wi-Fi standards. So it may be for naught anyway. So I'm not worried about Mini PCI. Mini PCI Express is kind of your cutoff. Installing and configuring adapter cards. The only thing you can really replace on that laptop would be a mini PCI Express, and that would be for a Wi-Fi card. And like I said, we're not interested in mini PCI. So for many of these laptops, you might have a little access door that lets you get to it, or it's just underneath the keyboard. So there's not a great deal of disassembly required to get to the mini PCI Express slot. And then, like on a desktop, when you put a new device in your computer, you need to see if the device driver has been installed properly. Of course, make sure you got your antennas connected correctly. They are color coded and they will be marked. LCD screens. All right, if you have to replace an LCD screen, it's usually a decently extensive disassembly because we've got to be able to disconnect that video cable from the system board of the laptop. We've got to get the bezel out, take off the bezel front cover, which can be held by screws or snaps. And then inside of here, then another set of screws to get the screen out. And then your most reliable way to make sure you get the correct screen for a laptop is to remove the existing screen, you know, cracked or whatever. Look on the back at the parts label and make sure you order the correct part. Now, another good test before you go any further than replacing the screen is see if you can move the video to the external HDMI. Hook up an external monitor, hit the function key on the top of the keyboard to make sure your display is going to the external monitor. If it is not, then you've got a dead system board or a dead video card if it's like a gaming laptop. The screen may be fine, but if you can get something on the external screen and you're not getting anything on the internal screen, then you're pretty sure you have a problem with that internal screen. Or maybe if you're extremely lucky, that video cable came loose. If the screen is extremely dim on an old laptop that uses fluorescent light bulbs, compact fluorescent bulbs for backlighting, the inverter's gone bad, because what happens is everything inside the laptop is direct current. An inverter, a laptop screen that uses compact fluorescence requires alternating current. So an inverter takes the DC current, turns it into alternating current to power those compact fluorescent bulbs. LED backlights just take direct current and they don't have an inverter, so you can't do this. This is only going to be on older laptops. And once again, if the laptop's so old that it has an inverter, you're probably looking at replacing the laptop rather than spending money on this old laptop. You can get the screen probably for $80 or $100, and you can gamble. If it's that old of a laptop, you can gamble and only buy the inverter, replace the inverter, and then if it still doesn't work, then you know you've wasted $30. But now you've got to go get the screen with an inverter or a screen without the inverter and use the one you bought. If it's a high-end gaming laptop and the video card has gone dead, it's going to be very expensive, and you may just be looking at replacing the laptop. So here are some general steps to replacing an LCD screen. Shut down the laptop, remove the AC adapter battery pack, remove the keyboard. Whatever else needs to be disassembled till you can get to the point that you remove the screws holding the hinge in place. Then you can remove the hinge cover, take the entire bezel off of the laptop and disassemble it to get the screen out. All right, so I want to finish up this PowerPoint, this lecture, by talking about general steps for working on laptop that I want to emphasize. Use manufacturer service manuals. HP and Dell have very good service manuals that you can download off their website. Download them when you buy the laptop. If you're working on somebody's laptop that's one of these two brands, go get it and use that. iFixit's got some good guides. YouTube has many good videos on laptop disassembly, but be sure to vet the quality of the video and the skill of the technician working on the laptop. I already talked about that. There's a lot of incompetent people that make laptop repair videos, and you don't want to be using them as a guide. I am very big on staying organized when you work on laptops. One of the very best ways to do this is to get a magnetic screw pad, and you can get these for just a few dollars, and then you have a dry erase marker. If you've got like hinge screws, you can just say hinge screws and put all those screws right there. Now, these two pictures right here, they're showing you screws that are not from laptops. They're usually much smaller. But one of the things I really like to do, if I start taking a bunch of screws, like to take a back cover off that's got a bunch of screws, I will draw the back cover, and where I took the screws out, I'll put little X's, and I will put the screws on top of the X's. If I'm taking a system board out, everywhere I take a screw out, I'm going to draw a little diagram of the system board, and everywhere I take a screw out of that system board, I'm going to draw a little X, and I'm going to put the screw I took out from that position on the X. That is to make sure I get all the screws back where they belong and I don't have any left over, and I'm not trying to put the long screw in the hole that's supposed to have the short screw, because that could be a very bad thing. Last of all, as you take a laptop apart, you will notice that the cabling, like speaker cables, power jack cables, USB cables, video cables, are all routed very specifically through the laptop, and there are little spots, actually little cable holds or little channels for those cables to go in. And you want to make sure when you put it back together, you get those cables routed back exactly how they came out of the laptop, because otherwise the components that go on top of this will be pinching on those cables and damaging them. So you can see this power connector right here goes a very specific route before it goes into the system board of the laptop. Or this may be a USB here, but it's taking a very specific route. Use your camera phone to take pictures of this stuff and make sure you get them back in exactly the right place. You can't just cowboy this. These cables are run a very specific way for a reason, and if you don't get them back the right way, it will cause you problems. You could have a cable where a screw is supposed to go, so now you're trying to put a screw through a cable. So get organized, use a magnetic mat, get your service manuals, and take pictures as you work on these laptops. Work slowly and methodically. If you start to get frustrated, step away, come back later, go do more research online. But those are my tips, and this is going to finish up the laptop lecture, and I'm going to save this sucker and put the updated version on YouTube so I can link it to Blackboard. Take care.